about our lovely day, and I want to hear all about how yours is.
Okay.
Because it looks like it's much nicer with a little bit of sun coming in your way. If
It
that's
is.
artificial light, that's good artificial light. Because
No, no, no. It's sun.
oh well, for anybody who's watching, welcome the Wine Concierge live stream with Dan Glover from Les Objets Winery over in California, sunny California, not like the DC, Virginia, Maryland area right now that is experiencing crazy lightning and power outages and all sorts of windy rain for a mid to late February. It's very odd. If you don't have a glass, then you need a glass of his Sauv Blanc or Pinot. Oh, cheers. I think we have almost, it's very close. Close to that, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very close. I poured a little more in my glass because of
I just brought the whole bottle.
the day. See, smart thinking.
Yeah, I'm not dumb as
So,
I look.
welcome everybody. I'm Christina, and here we have Dan. Dan, it's so good to see you. I know Leslie wishes that she could be here with us today, and maybe she will be able to join in. I was just sending her a message to see. Not sure how long she'll be, but she might be a little longer than us. So if we miss her, we'll just have to have a sip and another cheers
Yes,
in her place.
I agree.
So how are you doing, Dan?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Yes.
Just it's been a little crazy this month, but that's good.
Yeah.
Good crazy. Let's see. Just did a tasting at the San Francisco Google office, so that was
The
fun.
San Fran Google office.
Yeah, they have
Is that
one.
like a Google happy hour?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So is that why their data bots are slightly off at certain times of the afternoon? Now we know.
Yeah, right. No, it was good. It was a lot of fun people. Did it with a couple of other African American owned wineries, so that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Excellent. Well, and this is Black History Month. So I don't know if you're familiar with Justin from Word 4 Wines.
I don't think I've met him.
Santa Barbara, Napa. She actually is out in the Napa area, but she was in Santa Barbara. More of a newer winery, really, really awesome. A lot of au naturel, letting the wine do its thing. But she's just sharp as a tack, and quick as a whip, and just really fun and energetic, and actually has a great product. And she was one of the other winemakers that we are featuring, and
Oh,
we were
cool.
telling her about you as well.
Ah.
So we're very excited to have you guys on and have you on today
Thank
with
you. It's nice
us.
to be here.
I want to hear all about what you have going on, but I also had a couple of questions that came up in conversation with other winemakers, and I won't necessarily throw out names, but I was in a group of winemakers and we were all chatting, and there was a Black winemaker in the mix, and she was a female winemaker. And they were all talking about different ways you could go about doing things. And she had made a comment about how, I not only have run into roadblocks because I'm female, but also because I'm African American. And I feel like that the doors weren't opening for me in the same way. And I didn't really have anybody to go to. And it was a really lonely place. And so one of the things that I kind of wanted to broach on with you is, what do you have to share or want to say, or what experiences have you had in the industry that you feel like really need improvement, and maybe what you would recommend, or what kind of words of support and wisdom would you give to other winemakers, BIPOC winemakers that are coming into the industry right now, or that are struggling?
Yeah, no, I get it. First of all, perseverance. It's just you just got to keep chugging. Yeah, it's it's funny. There's I've talked to some black winemakers, um, black female winemakers, and just female winemakers, and I've had this same discussion with them, or multiple discussions with multiple people, and um, some have seen the roadblocks, some have not. Um, so I think if you have, I think, for example, me, I kind of went through the industry. So I started out as a cellar worker and got to know a lot of the people there, and just a lot of the people in the industry through living in Healdsburg and hanging out and that type of thing. So, um, not all of the roadblocks but I do see some as far as um, perception of how my wines are
Okay.
because I'm African American.
Interesting.
Um, so, but I'm old enough that my white mother, my black father used to tell me that you have to, because of your skin color, you're going to have to do, or because of your gender, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to have to do twice as much work to be considered equal. And so I've always kind of went in with that anyway. And so I went into the business with that. I went into starting my business with that. And so, um, nowadays it's, I think, you can't really count on people just being cool, I guess, right?
You
It's
can't.
gonna,
It's okay. I mean,
you
say it
know,
straight. This is the right platform, and you need to say it straight.
yeah. So you can't count on that. So
No,
you have to
you can't.
almost anticipate that they're not, and be surprised and be pleasantly surprised when they are.
Right.
So, um, but you got to go in with a smile, and you got to go in with a great attitude, and you got to persevere. You just got to keep going and chugging and not let it get you down, because you make a good product, and that you're good at what you do. So just, internalize that as opposed to internalizing some outside stuff that's coming in.
Right.
And
What people are
yeah,
deflecting off of you.
right. Or their perceptions of you just because
Correct.
of skin color or gender or both, you know what I mean? So, um, yeah, I think it's really important that you just kind of go, yeah, I don't need this. I know who I am, and have a
Right.
confidence, and just know that your product is good, and that you're going to be successful. It's just a matter of maybe you have to work a little bit harder than a lot of people. And that's, is it fine?
No. I
But
mean, there's
it's,
always going to be unfairnesses, but I feel like the balance is so far off. I don't always have, I mean, I can speak from a woman's perspective, obviously, but you have a little bit of a different perspective just coming from a mixed family. So everybody
yeah,
has different perspectives, and they say
right,
perspective is one's own reality.
right,
But at the same time, awareness is so important, and just being there for people that are in the industry. Um, I think I mean, I was going to ask you, and you said I started out kind of a while back. So how young were you when you started in this industry, if you
um
don't mind sharing?
let's see. Well, that requires me to
5 years ago, right?
think, which hurts.
That's why you have wine.
Oh yeah, that's right, ease the pain of thinking. Well, let's see, 23, let's see, 98, so 20, I just finished my 25th harvest.
Wow.
So I was 36 when I got in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
35, 36.
oh yeah, you were really, really young.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Yeah, not too
Hi,
bad.
Charisse. Oh, Charisse is asking. I don't know if you can see all of the questions when they pop up.
I can't, but
Um, let's see. Can you see that one? When you first started, were there a lot of Black winemakers?
no, there were not. I remember the African American Vendors Association was 5 of us.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you
Um,
remember the founding wineries that were in that? I mean, there was probably more, but as far as that association,
well, there was Daniel J. Bryan had a label, Mac McDonald, who started it,
okay, yeah,
um, who's always been an amazing inspiration for me. Um, he had Vision Cellars. There was Vance Cellars. I can't remember the fourth one. And then there was another gentleman who was kind of
okay.
helping us out with the whole thing. Um,
Vision Cellars is still around, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I was actually
So
looking at them just the other day. I thought,
yeah, so yeah, that was back in '04, I want to say.
okay,
Um, so yeah, like 20 years ago. um, so it's um, so it's been good, and um, the growth that I've seen has been great. I've met people making wine from South Africa, um, in Europe, and all over the country, um, which is amazing. That was not happening. At least I didn't. Nobody knew about it. And I think a lot of the reasons why there was a shift, or not a shift, but a growth, I would say, is that um, there was a demand for African Americans to make wine, because there's a lot of African Americans drinking wine.
yes,
So, and that's grown. So, as that grows, I think there's more of a demand for African Americans to make wine and getting into wine. I think there's a lot of, um, I mean, we could get into the whole history of politics and blah, blah,
oh,
blah.
that's a
But
cellar. That's a cellar worth of wine right there, at
yeah,
least.
right.
Dan, that's more than alive.
Right. But
That's more than alive. But
I think we all
yes.
know. I think we all know about that. But I think,
Hmm.
as the African American communities become more affluent, um, it's gotten into wine, and I think that's a big part of it too. So, and kind of some of the younger generation are getting into it, which is great. Um, so, and then you start seeing some of the athletes making wine, or having their labels.
Yes, more famous. You have
Yeah.
it. Yep. More professionals,
Hmm.
athletes. Yep.
So there becomes, again, more people getting into it and more people drinking it more.
Musicians, movie
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
exactly. So, um, yeah, I think it's been great to see this growth, and I want to keep it going, and I've talked to a few folks that want to get into it, and I kind of told them what we were talking about earlier, as far as just you're going to run into roadblocks, and it's not going to be easy, and
Right.
you have to persevere. And I don't have, I'm not getting rich doing this. This is
A
my
love
job.
of wine.
Yeah, it's my full-time job. It's my passion. I love it.
Hmm.
I would say I love probably 10% of my job, which is actual winemaking.
Hmm.
All the administration and sales and all that, not so
Yeah.
much. I think one of the things I do love, though, as far as, is that I get out there and meet some amazing folks, and
Yeah.
that's what's really, really cool about what I do. Um, I meet a lot more people around the country. I'm not just insular in my own, here in this community meeting folks. I'm meeting people from around the country and becoming friends with them, which is great. Um, so that's, to me, is very special. And that's kind of one of the things I tell people when they ask me, what I want to, I want to get into it. I want to get into this winemaking business, and I want to do this. And what's one of the fun things about it? And I'm like, well, you get to meet some amazing folks. So
That's the
that's really cool.
connection.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, wine is really all about that. It's not just good juice. I mean, good juice, but the company, the connection, the people, the memories,
Right.
that all surrounds, for me, that's surrounds wine. And
Yeah.
wine is in not always at the center, but it seems like I think it just has so many connections. And so there's so many different flavors and profiles. Like, your background is an interesting background. I want to hear a little bit about that, because I know you really love music.
I do.
But and I appreciate what you said earlier. I do have a question about what you feel like is the biggest, like, misconception or misperception about BIPOC winemakers right now, like, or consumers. I feel like that there's a, I mean, I can't speak for, but I just, in so much conversation, I hear that taste profiling is such a big thing, as far as misconception of, the different types of wine that are bought or sold, or interest, or what your wine is like when you make it, or, what the producers are producing, and the styles. And oftentimes great wines are overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
What do
Yeah.
you feel?
So I think that when you talk about, like you said, flavor profiling,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's kind of a sketchy thing to get into, if that's what you're getting, if that's what it's driving you to do this. It's kind of a sketchy thing to do. I make wines, and I
Good
think that,
answer.
I mean, I make wines that I want to drink and have food with, and that's the most important thing to me. Um,
Absolutely. Excellent.
so, and I hope people will come along for the ride. Um, I think that you have to be true to yourself. You have to have integrity in what you're doing. So, and I find, I mean, just for example, doing this, the last two events I've done, I did one Saturday in Oakland, and I did one at Google yesterday. Very diverse crowds, um, and I would say that there aren't people that, I mean, everybody has different tastes. So it's, you can't say, I like, oh, black people like sweet wines. Well, that's not true. Black people like good wines.
Right.
You know?
Right. I
I mean,
mean, you
that's
like what you like, your
right,
DNA, whether you're a smoker, do you eat a high fat diet? Do you take a lot
right,
of salt? Do you have a taste bud regenerating issue? Like, I
right.
mean,
I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that you can't, I mean, you
right.
just can't really profile it. And so, I've never really thought that way. I mean, I remember when I first started out, there were a lot of, um, every once in a while, a woman or a man would come up and go, well, do you have anything sweet? I go, no, but here, try this anyway. It's very fruity. The fruit's really ripe.
Right.
And they would try it, and and most of the times they'd go, oh, well, this is pretty good. I like this. And so if you do run into these kind of things, I mean, it's part of education. We didn't all
Yeah.
grow up having this palate of drinking fine wine.
Everybody started somewhere. I mean, it's
Yeah,
either MD40, what is it?
Mad
Mad
Dog
Dog,
20,
or you,
or,
right.
or
Boone's Farm.
or White Zinfandel. I mean, it's like, you know, people. I did.
I did too.
I started drinking White Zinfandel when I was,
I did
late
too.
teenager, I will say.
Right? Yeah, Boone's
Well,
Farm for me.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, we all, So and that's the cool thing when when you meet someone like that, and they go once, and they actually like what you made, even though you don't make what they asked for. Does that make
Right,
sense?
right. It
So,
totally does. Absolutely.
so, um, so that gets me jazzed. That makes me happy when that happens. So,
What music plays in your head when you see that light go on for somebody?
oh
Do you have
man,
do you hear a little do you hear the pep in your step? Like, do you hear the
um,
ta-da?
I don't know. Yeah,
I
I
get that
guess.
feeling. I get that feeling when somebody connects like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I think it's kind of um, I would say probably a kind of a college fight song almost.
all right.
you know,
Yes.
kind of something like that.
Yes. I can feel that. Yes, I can get with that. I'm gonna think about that next time. The light goes on for somebody and I see it when we're doing a tasting, and I'm gonna say, Dan Glover's fight song. Yes.
college.
I college fight song. That's I'm gonna think of you the next time that happens. And it does happen. I totally understand what you're saying. I like sweet wines. And just because I drink other great wines doesn't mean sweet wines aren't great, is another
Right,
thing. I
right,
mean, some of the coolest wines in the world and some of the most expensive wines in the world are also sweet.
right. Exactly. And
But
again, too, it's like, what do you have? What if you're having food? What kind of food are you having with it? And I
everybody
think
starts out somewhere, right?
right. Well, I mean, but for example, I love um, a slightly sweet Gewürztraminer or Riesling if I'm eating, let's say, Thai food, Vietnamese food, Indian
Okay.
food, any kind of like food that's a little spicy. I love just that little hint of
Yes.
sweetness in the wine because it kind of offsets and it really plays well with the heat and the flavors, and so brings out the fruit of you know it brings out some really nice flavors in the veggies and the
It does.
sauces, and it also brings out a little more fruit in the wine, and so that to me is
It's
it's great. So you can't just go, I like this, I like that, because you don't know.
it's like another ingredient.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
wine is, I tell people, when you're doing wine with food, think of chili. The ingredients by themselves are not the same thing. Whether you want to have meat chili, veggie chili, turkey chili,
Right,
it's not the same separately, but when you put them together and you mix in the right spices and you let it simmer and you pour a little wine in there while you drink it,
right. Exactly.
it becomes something very different, and all together it marries. So those things in the wine, that the characteristics of the wine blend with characteristics of the food, and you just got to find the right ones. And like you said earlier, you I think having a lot of belief and faith in yourself with what you make. You make what you believe in and what you like. You're obviously selling it so other people are liking it too.
Yeah,
I know I do. I know
me
we
too.
do. I know there are many people that do. And there are so many variations of wine, but I want to kind of take that back a little bit to what you were talking about when you mentioned jazz. You have a music background. How much does that play into when you're making wine? Like, do you have to listen to certain music? Do you have like a mood that you get into when you're making wine and you're that 10% of your favorite part,
Yeah.
and you're actually in the cellar and you're doing the hands-on with the wine, or you're in the vineyards? Do you ever have like go-to music?
Um, I don't normally I don't put headphones on and do stuff, it's usually
Well, there goes my Christmas present idea.
no, I usually music pops in my head. So like all of us,
Okay.
a song or something will pop in your head, but it happens
Right.
to me a lot. Like constantly. So if I'm doing something, sometimes it's just the rhythm of something that I'm doing. Like the rhythm as I'm stepping. The rhythm
Yeah.
of my steps in a vineyard, let's say. And a smell will bring me to something, will bring me to a song, and then I'll just kind of repeat that song through. And it could be, it could be any genre. It doesn't matter. It's just kind of a song that just kind of sticks in my head, that earworm that kind of just,
Yep.
keeps repeating over and over. But so I don't have a particular thing that I use to kind of inspire me, but usually it just kind of comes from either the vineyard or, if I'm working in the winery, again, it could be just the rhythm of something that spurs me on to a certain song. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. And so then I'm just like into it. And so it's more of a, yeah, it's not something that I contrive. It's more just super
Whatever
spontaneous.
happens. You're right.
Yeah. And so that's the way I look at it, or that's kind of what happens to me. I mean, I know a lot of people that do play music and certain types of music, but there's no romantic kind of, like I play, classical music, or, I listen to opera, or, if I'm making if I'm making a super tannic red blend, I'm listening to heavy metal, or, it's nothing like that.
No Led Zeppelin Stairway to Heaven, huh?
No, it's not.
So how did you, because I know this is kind of a thing that's been mentioned. So how did you break into the wine industry? Like, what was that crossover point and that kick?
Well, so I was commuting from San Francisco, from northern Sonoma County here to Healdsburg to San Francisco, which is about an hour. Commute was about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Each way, and that was getting really old really fast.
Yeah.
So, also, I really loved expensive wines, and I could never afford them. So it kind of hit me that A, I need a job up here. B, why don't I just go get a cellar job and learn how to make wine, so I don't have to afford these wines. I can actually learn how to make them.
That's an excellent idea. I think you just sparked a new generation of winemakers from that comment.
So I got a job at Clos de Bois in 1998.
Okay.
And just, kind of learned on the job. I didn't know anything. They just hired me, but, it turned out great. I ended up learning a ton, especially more so about being a cellar worker and how to move wine around, and how winemaking is done in a large scale, which is good, because that way, when I started working at smaller places, I was a lot more efficient at getting things done and also being, one of the things at the winery is just, being clean and cleaning all the time.
Huge
Half your job in the winery is cleaning. And so you got to be into it. You got to be into cleaning. So I like to say I'm kind of a neat freak at the winery, and I leave it at the winery. I'm not so much at my house.
Hey, look, that's okay. That's A-okay. You're doing it where it counts.
Yeah, I mean, my house, man, who cares?
Doing it where it counts. That's all good.
So yeah, that's how I got into it. And yeah, just kind of worked my way up, and I got an assistant winemaker job, and then I got a winemaker job a few years later, and then broke off in '09 and started this.
That's funny because you said Clos du Bois in 98. So 97, 98 was the first year I started working in the wine industry. And I was selling retail at a cellar cafe combo in
Hmm.
Washington State.
Oh, really?
And we had 1998 Clos du Bois Merlot on our wine by the glass list.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was buying that one, and I remember I picked it for the glass. It was the Merlot. It was the Merlot. I picked it for the glass list, and we had it on there for a really long time. And I remember that I bought it because I knew nothing about wine at the time,
Right.
and it was sweet wine because that was like, okay, well, Riesling, this is the sweetest thing I've tasted, so I'm just gonna drink, for my own personal use, Riesling. But I got to try so many different wines. I wasn't closed-minded to it.
Right.
So you get to try all these different wines, but we had the Clos du Bois 98 on the by the glass list, and that
Oh,
was
cool.
probably let's see, I started 97, 98, 99, so that was probably in 2000. So
Probably 2000. Yeah.
it was about 2000 that I
So yeah,
had that on the
I had a
list.
little hand in that.
Excellent. How awesome was that? It was very
Yeah.
popular.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad.
A funny world. But
Yeah.
the only red wine I would drink, like I started drinking, and you know how you have your personal preferences. Like
Right.
when you're in the industry, you try everything because that's what you do. It improves your taste buds, it improves your uh, sensory abilities. So you try everything, whether or not you like it, and you learn quality and balance and different things. But Lemberger from Washington State was a red. And everybody's like, "You drink what? Cheese? No, Lemberger. It's a grape. And it's only grown in Washington State. It's not grown anywhere else that I can find in the US."
Yeah. I've heard.
Um, and absolutely stellar wine. And so nothing else was good enough for the longest time besides Lemberger.
Huh.
But the Clos du Bois Merlot, when we brought that on to the wine by the glass list, I started drinking that, and that is what got me into drinking Merlot before. No, don't do Merlot.
Right. It's funny. I've never seen that movie.
Really?
Really, I tried 3 times to watch that movie, and I've never seen it.
Did you try and wine got in the way, or
No, I just I tried, and then like,
you just never got into it?
no, and it's
It's
really funny because
it's
everybody I know asks me if I've seen that movie, and I'm like, no. And then I got, part of me gets like, well, wait a minute, why are you bashing Merlot? So then, Merlot in the United States takes this huge dive as far as sales concerned,
yes.
and it's funny because I hear people say, "Oh, no, no, I don't like Merlot," and then I go, "Oh, really? Okay, so you don't like Bordeaux's?"
Hmm.
And they go, "Oh no, I love Bordeaux's." Well, you're drinking Merlot. Half of them are Merlot, or more than half are Merlot.
Again,
Thanks.
that ties into so many just misconceptions, and people just hear certain things, and then all of a sudden it becomes something,
Right.
and that's not really what it is.
No,
But
and so that's kind of my, when people say I don't drink a certain thing or I only
yeah,
like this, I'm like, well, wait a minute, give it a try. You might like it.
you never know, and sometimes with the right food that can make a difference. And
True.
speaking of that, now what two wines? So I've had your Sauv Blanc and your Pinot.
Okay.
What do you have going on right now?
Both. As you can see, I have a new label from last
Yes,
year.
I noticed that. I want to hear a little bit about the name L'Objet as well
Yeah.
as the new label, because I had to do a double take when I
Yeah.
looked at it. It was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. I said, he changed it up.
I
So tell me
did.
about that, your wines and your label and your name.
So, well, let's start with the name. Like most of the stories in my life, um, or good stories anyway. It starts in a bar in San Francisco, and there's a woman who was bartending, and I was in there having a cocktail, and I said to her, I'm going to be making a Pinot Noir, and I don't want the name to be pretentious, so I'm going to make it kind of a French style. And she just shouted L'Objet Noir like that. Boom. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, L'Objet. She's like, yeah, it kind of it means kind of like a revered object.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, huh, okay, like it, done. Another cocktail.
I love these stories.
So it's really, it's really kind of short and sweet. So the new label was just kind of prompted by, well, I'll just get into it a little bit. My partner, she passed away a few years ago.
Sorry. Yep.
Thank you. So her favorite flower was a dahlia.
Okay.
So I put that on the label and just kind of changed it up a little bit. And so
it's a beautiful label. I love where you positioned it. It just really, the statement.
Yeah, and my friend Sandra, who does all my artwork and website design, she did the label, and I thought it was beautiful when we came up with it. I was like, yes, totally.
You know it when you know it.
Yeah. So, so I'm really stoked about the new label. It's really, it's just nice. And then, and so I'm still doing Sauvignon Blanc, obviously. I have a 2021 Pinot from Russian River, which is
keep doing both of those.
Yeah, tasting amazing right now. I started in 18. I started doing a red blend of Zinfandel Petit Syrah Merlot.
I'm really interested in that.
Yeah, so I did that for 18, 19, 20. I didn't do it because of the fires.
Okay.
And then 21 is what I'm pouring right now. And 22 is in the barrel, and 23 is in the barrel. So it's really cool. It's a blend of about 70% Zin, 20% Merlot, and 10% Petit Syrah.
Wow.
And I kind of started doing it because a friend of mine was in he was in a wine club or wine tasting group, and they would always brown bag a bunch of wines, and then they'd have a theme, and they'd brown bag a bunch of wines, and they would blind taste and then pick the winner, and whoever brought the winner won the whatever prize they get. I don't know, they just won.
Right.
And he says, I haven't been winning a lot lately. I need something. And I said, okay. And he goes, it's Zin. It's Zin tasting. I said, okay. So I went into some barrels, and I did kind of a normal. A lot of people will take a little bit of Petit Syrah and throw it in their Zins. So I did that, but it was still kind of harsh, and because it was young, it was in a barrel, and still a little harsh. And I was like, So I took some Merlot, and what that does is it kind of fattens and softens it up and gives it a nice mid palate, and it turned into this really cool wine.
It's elegance. It has like another layer of this lushness.
Yeah, so you get that spice and nice big, black fruits in the front from the Zin, and then you get this really nice kind of lushness and a little chocolate note in the mid palate from the Merlot, and then you get this really cool blueberry and tannins and the finish from the Petit Syrah. So it just turns into this kind of pretty complex, really fun wine to drink, and it's turned into one of the best sellers. It's really fun.
So you are going to be releasing the 2022 is still in barrel.
Yeah, so the 21 still is available now. Yeah.
And it's just your red blend?
Yeah, it's called L'Objet Cuvée.
Okay. We're making a note of this live. Now that sounds really, really yummy. I love Zin blends. Everybody gets Zin has a poor reputation for some obvious reasons, but it really needs a second and a third look. So you said 2021 was the vintage. You skipped kind of a vintage because of the fires.
Yeah, 20 I skipped. Yeah.
Did you have a lot of damage at all? Did you?
No, it's just we just didn't. I mean, we were just afraid of smoke tanks, so we didn't take a lot of grapes. I mean, I didn't anyway.
Okay.
Because I'm small and I can't really afford to.
Right.
If something went wrong, I couldn't really afford to eat it. So
Correct. Okay.
it just made more sense to. But again, that's why I had So I'm on the 21 Pinot, and the reason I'm on my 21 and not a 20 is because of that. So I had to bottle the 21 a little early because I sold out of my 19. So I bottled the 21 I bottled one of my lots of 21 early. I'm going to bottle. I have another lot of 21, and I'm going to bottle in April. So that's the normal time that I like to. I like to have.
Oh wow. Okay.
I like to have 2 years at least in barrel.
What's your barrel? What oak? Which
French oak? I usually do about 20% new oak.
Okay, 20%. Are you doing like Seguin or?
I'm using D&J barrels.
D&J barrels.
Daglong?
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah. That's why they're D&J.
Yes, exactly.
So we're going to put this down, the Zin Merlot Petit Syrah. I'm going to bet that Petit Syrah in that blend must really add like a little bit of that concentration of like a little soft pepper, dark.
Yeah, it's
just a little bit more of a texture to it.
Yeah, it adds a little tannin structure to it. Also, like I said, it adds like this really nice little blueberry on it, which I love. So it kind of switches it up with the kind of like blackberry kind of thing that the Zin will bring. So the blackberry plum kind of notes that the Zin brings in. So it's really the Zin adds a little pepperiness to it, which is nice.
Okay.
So again, it's just this kind of, but I like the tannin structure that it gives. I think it's really, it changes the way Zinfandel is. It becomes more of a, for example, I pair it with, I like to make a lot of like heavy, dark, red sauces like bolognese and stuff like that. And then when I pair it with that, it almost tastes like a Chianti. It's really like crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But it has that kind of same little, nice tannin structure that holds up to those red sauces, and it's really good with pizza too.
Okay, so it does good with that acidity. I mean, Zin generally will have, it depends on honestly where it's made. It's not too many places, but it's good for pizzas and red sauces. But like a bolognese or like that really rich round red sauce that does have a higher acidity, but you get that fruit component and that concentration from the Zin. That makes a lot of sense, though. That sounds really, really yummy. And I bet the other ones, boy, they probably just really express themselves really well. I'm so excited. I might just have to convince Leslie to get some for myself.
Yeah, you should. It's really good. It was a big hit. It's been a big hit in like the last 2 tastings I just did.
When does the 22 come out then for that one?
I'll probably bottle that. I'll probably bottle it in April, but I'll leave it in bottle for a little bit. It's in screw cap, so that's it's not corked. So again, it's kind of one of those. It's I liken it as a wine that you're going to want to drink the whole bottle. So,
Excellent.
so, and it's not something that I really, my whole thing with corkscrew, or I mean with screw cap and cork, is that, I use cork for my pinots because they can age.
Okay.
I've never had I've never had a pinot a Zin that's lasted, you know, 7 years and been just as good as it was 2 years, So, Zin kind of tapers down pretty quickly, whereas I think the Pinots get more complex and they get softer and richer as they age. So that's why I do cork on those. And Sauvignon Blanc, again, is just, I want it fresh. So,
And yours is very fresh. But that's a good reason for the corkscrew. I mean, and it also gives it that extra time if you don't need it.
Right.
I mean, it's really all winemaker preference. People ask a lot about that with the corkscrew and or the screw cap and the cork.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not, it has nothing to do with really the quality of the wine. It's really just winemaker intention.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and cost and everything else. So there's
cost too. Yeah.
Yes, there's cost too. Well, with this Sauvignon Blanc, I have to say you used the word very fresh. So this is very, very fresh. And sometimes people think Sauvignon Blanc, they think, oh, the acidity is too high. It's overly grassy, or it tastes, I smell barnyard and cat pee. And they
Right.
think there's a classic New Zealand Sauv Blanc sometimes that comes out. California Sauv Blanc is very different in my experience. And if I'm just explaining it to people who are getting into that, I really like yours because it has it's an elegant Sauvignon Blanc. It has a good firm acidity to it. But it's fresh and it's lively. It's crisp, but it doesn't keep your cheeks sucked in the whole time.
Right.
Say it lets them loose.
There's actually kind of a roundness to it, which is So the inspiration was Sancerre. So Sancerre wines this is kind of what I was shooting for.
Okay.
So, and I think it's really cool that because like this wine, Sancerres tend to have a little more tropical fruit, and a little fatter, rounder mouthfeel, but also a little minerality, which there's there's just a hint of it. Not as much as most Sancerres, but there's a hint of it here. So that's kind of that was kind of the aim as far as trying to make this wine, is to kind of shoot for something like that.
Well, you definitely hit the bullseye on that, because that was in the back of my head. So when you said that, I was like, yep, that is a great representation, or a great way to describe the intention behind it. And you took what California had too, like that area, that terroir, and just it's not absent of California. So if you want to say California Sancerre style, that's very, very close to accurate.
Yeah, no, it is.
Very accurate.
It's very vineyard. I mean, it tastes like it's definitely tastes like, so when I'm going through tasting grapes before harvest, these are the flavors I'm getting as I'm tasting the grapes. So that's, so how, so my whole thing is, how do I elicit the vineyard to show up in the bottle?
What do you look for when you're doing that? Like if you're in the vineyard and you're picking grapes, some people would ask, how do I know if these are going to be good or not? Like, what are you really looking for?
The same characteristics I'm looking for in a wine a lot of times. So, and again, this is all trained, right? So you don't, like I tell people that ask me, how come you have this developed palate? And I say, well, it's a lot of practice. Yeah.
You have to drink more, people.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, just get down to brass tacks. Like
Yeah, it's practice.
you can't train without tasting. So you have
Right.
to drink more. You have to
Right.
taste more.
But again, it's the same thing with when you're walking through a vineyard. You taste, so I taste for acidity.
Mm-hmm.
I taste for flavors. I taste for, I will chew on the skins to see whatever they're bringing to the table.
Oh.
So there's, a bunch of stuff that I'm looking for. And sometimes I'll taste a grape and I'm going, ooh, man, that's really acidic. Or I'll taste a grape and go, that's grapey, but it's also a little bit citrusy. And then sometimes I'll taste a grape and go, wow, that tastes like lychee fruit, or this tastes like papaya or something. There's a little bit of this papaya flavor in this grape. But that's me looking for certain things.
Right.
And not just going, oh, this is a grape. And the thing is like you can't, unless you go through and taste wine grapes, you can't go to the grocery store and go, I'm going to try this Thompson Seedless and see if I can get blah, blah, blah out of it, because you won't.
It's not it's not the same. And
Right.
and I explained this to somebody one time. The very first time I tasted grapes out of a vineyard, I accidentally, when I squeezed it, it wasn't, you don't even get the same. The insides pop out.
Right.
And the skin you can just pull off literally like a coat.
Right.
And it's not like that with the grapes that you buy at the grocery store.
Right.
So it was so different. In fact, I remember the very first time I ever was squeezing a white grape and a red grape. It was Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir, and the Pinot Noir still had like a pinkish hue to it. It was just kind of changing and becoming a little bit darker, and it was a little firmer. So I remember when I squeezed it, the juice that came out was the same color.
They always, even
Just
when they're
about
ripe, color.
Yep. And so I just remember that's how I learned about the color extraction from the skin and all those different things. But you can squeeze the grape and literally it just pops right out, and you have the skin, and you can eat the skin and then taste the innards. You can taste the flesh. And then it was so interesting that you said that. But I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize. It's not the same.
No, that's why, if you were to have, let's say, Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot grapes, let's say if you were to take Napa Valley Cabernet grapes and you'd buy them in the store, per pound, it would probably be like $20, $30, something like that.
And they have seeds.
Yeah, and they're small. They're not like, they're not like these big. So
can't get drunk off of those no matter how many pounds you buy.
Nope.
And they're not going to taste the way that you think they're going to taste either, because they're in a different state.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too is that when you're tasting wine grapes, they're going to be sweeter than anything you get at the store. Because they pick those at most of the grapes you get in the store have really thin skins, so you need to pick those at a lower sugar level in order to get them to the store. Whereas when we pick them, we're bringing them to the winery right away, and something's happening. So we wait till a proper ripeness. And some of these grapes don't develop like Zinfandel, for example. It's really hard to get flavor out of those grapes until they're a little higher bricks than other grapes. But then you start tasting that spiciness in the grape and that really amazing fruit, and those flavors just start popping. And you're like, yeah, now it's time to pick. But a lot of times it's higher. That's a higher, bricks, sugar level than some of the other grapes that will develop flavors. So it's, again, everything's totally.
Telling them
nice.
the Merlot Petit Syrah, that cuvée is where it's at.
That's one of the fun things about it too. Is like, you go through and you try all these different varieties of grapes, and they're all different. They all taste different.
Yep. And from different places, even across the street, same grape.
Yeah. So it's really cool.
It is very cool. Now, on that note, if you were going to have a dinner party and you had to put on some music in the background and you were going to start with your Sauvignon Blanc, what music would you put on? And if you were going to have a little bit of your, um, not having tasted the Cuvée Red Blend yet, but if you were going to do your Pinot with the main course and you had music on in the background, what would you be listening to? And if you were going to finish off the night with a really rich, decadent dessert and then kind of end the night sipping your Cuvée Red, what would you be listening to in the background?
Okay, so Sauvignon Blanc, probably something. I'd probably be listening to something. Probably listening to something Motown, old Motown.
Ah, okay.
Maybe some Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, some Supremes, Merlots, that kind of thing. And then then I'll switch to, let's say we're doing a duck dish with Pinot Noir.
A little gamey dish. Yep.
I might switch to something like Esperanza Spalding.
Ah, yes. That seems to be I listened to her and
Yeah.
I shouldn't say I'd never heard of her. I'd never listened to her before I came across your wine.
Put it on you saw the website, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd probably listen to that. Actually, I'm going to switch it up on you a little bit. So we're going to do two dishes. We're going to do something a little heavier for a second dish.
Okay. Okay.
So the duck is the Pinot. Let's do lamb with chimichurri and with the red blend. And
okay.
Let's see.
So we're gonna
I think I'm gonna go into something a little funkier, like the Ohio Players or the Earth, Wind and Fire, something like that. There's an artist called there's also an artist called the Fantastic Negrito that I love, and so I might throw his music on.
And what say his name again?
The Fantastic Negrito.
I'm writing this down.
He's really good.
And
he does kind of a mishmash. I mean, his genres are all kind of mixed together, and it's really, really cool music.
And you said with a chimichurri, with a
lamb with chimichurri.
With a chimichurri, lamb with the chimichurri.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then let's see. Then we'll switch to dessert. And let's see. What would I do for dessert? Depends what I'm having for dessert. That I might do. I don't know. Desserts. I'm not a huge dessert person, so.
I like it. I like savory sweet. So I like things that kind of have contrast. And I think of dessert like blue cheese with honey and
okay.
pecans.
Or a cheese plate, let's say, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And with something a little sweet, let's do, let's see. I might do just some kind of 70s R&B.
Ah, yes. That's a nice way to end the night. And I can see a cigar
Well, but see, there's the other thing too. It's like you can dance.
Yes.
You know, you can dance with it. And then, you know, you kind of, when you're done dancing, you pour yourself a cognac and you're sitting
Mm-hmm.
down and you're listening to a little Miles Davis or something, and or
Yes.
Thelonious Monk, or, you know, Charlie Parker, that kind of thing. Kind of old
Yes.
school jazz.
Yes. Little Charlie Parker.
Or even a little Nat King Cole.
Oh, that's good and classic.
Yeah.
Now that makes me want to have a dinner party with your wine. See?
There you go.
Yeah, not too sweet. And I'm throwing all this in there. This is good. I like this. I think we might have to have a little what are you email with what are you going to play and serve with your L'Objet wines,
Right.
L'Objet
Love Shade.
wines, L'Objet. You have to say it kind of like the L and the objet are like love, like they're just kind of merging together.
Right.
There's no pause between them.
Right.
It's easier when you've had 2 glasses of wine.
So much easier.
And that's one of the reasons why your wines are great like that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very
No,
much.
we love having you on. I know you've been on a couple times with Leslie before,
Yeah.
and I know she's sorry that she couldn't this time, but there will be another, because we are definitely going to talk about the coming Pinot and then the red blend as well.
Yeah, the Pinot's out too. The 21 Pinot's out too. So it's tasting great.
Nice. And did we just get some orders for the L'Objet, actually? Interesting. Oh, look at that. What do you know?
I love it.
That's excellent. Thank you.
I love it.
Yes, we do. We do. And I won't keep you. I know the sun is setting there. Ours has long since set.
Christina, thank you so much.
Thank you.
A delight.
It has. I love your smile and your energy,
Thank you.
Dan. It pours over into your wine, that pours over into the glass, and it really makes it that much more just an awesome brand. And you're an awesome person, and it really just makes it a great experience all the way around. I know that our viewers appreciate that as well. So,
well, you've been fantastic. So cheers to you.
Thank you. Cheers to you.
You've been amazing. It's fun talking with you. So you make this very easy.
Thank you so much. You do as well. I mean, I have a million questions, but you can only go for so long. So I'm going to end our live and say goodbye to everyone. You can put questions in the comments. If you have anything that you want to, add in, you can always email us. You can put questions in after the fact, and we can always get back to you. And the wines are here. If you want to order anything other than the Sauvignon Blanc that we have on the site, just reach out to us, and Dan will hook us up.
I sure will. I'm more than happy to.
And cheers to everybody. Thank you so much.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.